Namaste. In the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, giving respect to the Guru, the Acharya, the teacher, is one of the highest duties of a person, equivalent to giving respect to God. Education and knowledge of science, philosophies, and truth in Sanatanam is accorded the highest order of mankind because it is only this knowledge that guides man to lead a civilized life of ethics, advancement, order, peace, humanity, and social harmony. In this regard, let us know certain facts and details about Bharat's Gurukulas. The story of how the world's most ancient and the advanced education system was forced to close down in the 19th and 20th centuries. Gurukulas, the pride of Bharat. India's rich culture and heritage can well be attributed to the Vedic gurus and ancient Gurukulas, which strived dedicatedly in research undertakings and knowledge dissemination across ages since 5000 years back, that contributed to the much advanced and civilized society called Bharat. The word Gurukula is coined from two words, Guru meaning the teacher and Kula meaning home. So the Gurukula system of education was basically the type of today's residential and boarding schools. The teacher was called the Guru and the student was called the Shishya. The Shishyas resided in ashrams of the Guru to learn till the completion of their prescribed educational course, which was determined by the Guru. Now, Bharat's Gurukulas encouraged global education. That was the beauty of Bharatiya Gurukula education. Takshashila, which is in today's Rawalpindi, Pakistan, was Bharat's ancient Vedic Gurukula University, situated in the Gandhara kingdom, which is present days parts of Pakistan and Afghanistan, in between 7th and 12th centuries. The other universities which served as excellent, world recognized, world class centers of higher learnings were situated at Ujjaini, Nalanda, Vikramashila, Vallabhi, Sharada Pitha, Kanchipuram, Somapura, Antalushala, etc. The quality of Bharatiya Gurukula education and the standard of subject knowledge was so advanced that students from foreign lands like Arabia, Greece, Tibet, Japan, Turkey, China, Southeast Asia and Persia came to Bharat to learn from the eminent Bharatiya gurus in the various centers of Bharatiya learning. The ancient Vedic Gurukula system of education was the well reputed and well acknowledged institutions of basic and advanced learnings which earned greater recognition not only in Bharat but in the whole world. So, to know more about the Gurukula, the pedagogy has to be understood first. So, the Gurukula pedagogy, the ancient Gurukula studies basically included oral recitations of Vedas and Upanishads, which largely relied upon memorizing of the verses, yoga for physical fitness, sports, arts like dancing, singing, etc., crafts, various skills, subjects of knowledge, art of living, and self-sustenance. The various subjects of knowledge and studies which were taught in the various Gurukulas were Vigyan, science, Ganitha Vidya, maths, Khagol Shastra, astronomy, Jyotish Shastra, astrology, Aushadha Vidya, botany, Ayurveda, medicine, Chikitsa Shastra, medical science, Dhatu Shastra, metallurgy, Vastu Shastra, architecture, Vyakaran, Sanskrit grammar, Astra Ved, which dealt with military warfare and weaponry, Krishi Vidya, agriculture, Darshan Shastra, philosophy, Shalya Chikitsa Shastra, surgery, Itihasa, history, Rasayana Shastra, chemistry, Jiva Shastra, biology, Bhautika Shastra, physics, Shilpakala, sculpture, Dhanur Vidya, archery, and other kalas or skills and vidyas, that is sciences. The Gurukulas also taught the ways of life and the art of living. In the pedagogy of holistic development, other than the subjects and skills that were taught, irrespective of caste, again I repeat, irrespective of caste by birth, or the student being a prince or an ordinary praja, the citizen or countryman, the students had to uniformly, equally, without any disparity, do various course, uh, like begging of the alms. Begging alms taught them humility and simplicity. Every shishya, whether it be the prince or the son of a soldier or the son of a farmer, all had to do the ashram housekeeping works, cleaning utensils, washing clothes, cutting woods from forests, and other activities like cooking, etc. All these works which were taught to them were to give them or teach them the art of self-sustenance, of sustaining by themselves without being dependent on servants or others to do their works. Now, where the Shishyas were taught on one side the art to live simple and austere like their Guru, they were also taught obedience, discipline, routine through their various activities and tasks designated to them. Obedience to the Guru with great reverence and faith was the expected value development in the pupil. Now, with regards to Guru Dakshina, which is the fee, it could be in monetary form or in kind, based on the capacity of the learners. Now, there were Gurukulas which were funded by the Rajya, that was the state or the kingdom, that is the king funded the functioning of the Gurukulas for maintenance. Now, the Gurukula ashram may be situated in the deep forest or in the entrance of forests or outskirts of cities, little away from the disturbances of city life, while yet being accessible to the city, or it may be in the villages or towns of the kingdom or the state. So, this is a basic preview about what the Bharatiya Gurukula was. Now, a brief note about the British colonial conspiracy to destroy Gurukulas. Sanatanam is perhaps the world's oldest surviving philosophy or dharma in the world. It is time tested and has proved its strength time and time again by withstanding the various conspiracies from external and internal forces to destroy it. In one such attempt recently, that is in a few hundred years, where the Britishers colonized Bharat, they wanted to bring the entire territory under their control. Now, the biggest hindrance for the British colonizers to establish a complete control over the native people of Bharat was the Sanatana faith aspect. Now, several deliberate hypothetical efforts were carried out by the colonizers to falsely project Sanatanam as uncultured, barbaric and negative to the social equality of the societies by bringing in caste issues. That is, they deliberately brought the caste issues which were not existing earlier to show that Sanatanam showed disparity among castes. They also documented these false propositions and narrations. They used these documented materials as references to misguide people in the later years to make them feel that Sanatanam is discriminative in nature. Such created narratives were constructed deliberately by the Britishers to confuse the people, make them to abandon Sanatanam and adopt the new faith which the Englishmen followed or wished to impose upon our native Bharatiyas. In simple words, the Britishers defamed Sanatanam and Gurukula system in order to carry out religious conversion which was their political strategy to create more of the converted native Bharatiya people so as to make them loyal to the British rule on the basis of religion. In this effort, the first thing the British colonizers strategized was to stop Vedic education, which had advanced terms of life, discipline, culture, and widely researched all subject knowledge ranging from metallurgy, archery, architecture to astronomy, botany, administration, yoga, dharma shastras, etc. Now, this could be achieved only by closing down the Gurukulas and starting the English education system. Now, even after independence, the certain ideological narrative constructions left behind by the British people, colonizers we should say, to make the Bharatiya people denounce Sanatanam continued through local organizations. Deplorably. We have to say it's a sad plight. Anyway, the project of spreading false information about Sanatana Dharma across the nation and the world in order to create negative images about Bharat, which would aid their efforts to overtake the Bharatiya importance, were carried out in various forms like to dismantle Hindutva, etc., which are unfortunately being still continued. In their efforts, false and construed information were and are still being conveyed to the general public about Gurukulas. Now, let us see what they say about Gurukulas. So, several myths about Gurukulas have been spread about. Now, in order to make people feel that Macaulay's education was needed for their betterment and that the British administrators were not wrong in not encouraging the Gurukulas, false narratives about Gurukulas were initiated and gradually spread since the later half of the 19th century during the British colony in Bharat, which unfortunately, again I repeat, is being carried on by some anti-Sanatana units internally and externally. Well, now some of the such created myths and their counter arguments are to be discussed now. Let us discuss a few myths. The first myth was Sanskrit and Vedas were taught only to Brahmins. Was it true? Our reply is no, it is not true. Sanskrit and Vedas were not limited only to Brahmins. So, to substantiate, let us ask a question. If Vedas were taught only to Brahmins, then how did Max Muller learn Sanskrit and Vedas? In fact, Max Muller was neither a Brahmin nor a Hindu. He was not even an Indian. He was a German who was born in Britain and who lived in Britain. Now, he belonged to another faith which was not native to Bharat. I should say which is not native to Bharat. When our Gurukulas had taught Vedas to a foreigner of another faith, definitely there would have been no restriction on basis of caste to learn in the Gurukulas. This is the first point. Second is Vyasa Munivar, Rishi Vyasa, who is also called the Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa's mother was a fisherwoman. So, Vyasa is said to have compiled the entire Vedas and segregated them or classified them into 4 classifications: the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. Subsequently, he got the name Veda Vyasa. The point here is, when Vyasa was son of a fisherwoman and he did not belong to a completely pure Brahmana background, how Vyasa could have done these classifications without having knowledge of Sanskrit and without having read all the Vedic verses. If only Brahmins were taught Vedas, how did Vyasa learn it centuries back? This is our next question. Third, Kambar of Tamilagam was not a Brahmin. He learned Sanskrit and eventually he was able to translate Valmiki's Ramayana written in Sanskrit to Kamba Ramayana in Tamil. No one prevented Kambar from learning Sanskrit in the 10th, 12th centuries, whatever be it. So, it is false proposition that only Brahmins were taught Sanskrit and Vedas in Bharat. Adding to this, it should be noted that the Vedas were written by several rishis who did not belong to the Brahmana Varna but belonged to the but had the Shudra background, Shudra Varna background. That is, these rishis came from the Shudra Varna background and they wrote the Vedas. A number of such rishis are being noted and recorded by the Britishers themselves who had come to Bharat as colonizers. Well, now that rules out our first myth that Vedas and Sanskrit were taught only to the Brahmins in the Gurukulas. So, it is irrespective of the Varna or the caste, all people were taught. In fact, the moment a student from a Shudra background was inducted into a Gurukula, he no more remains Shudra, he upgrades himself to the various other Varnas by acquiring the required skills from the Gurukula. So, the Gurukula was the place where the Shudra-ness of a person was removed at the doorstep the moment the child entered into the Gurukula and acquired knowledge. The Shishya was there to upgrade his knowledge, upgrade his qualities, his innate qualities, and upgrade his connectedness with the Almighty, the Parampurul, the God. So, Gurukulas were not biased to only Brahmins as was and is being wrongly propagated. Right. Now, let us come to the second myth. The second myth says that Gurukula ashrams showed bias among students on basis of their status. Our reply is no. Gurukula ashrams did not show any disparity between the students. Now, how do we substantiate it? The king's son, that is the prince, and the servant's son who learnt in the Gurukula were treated equally without any bias. The ashram did not have servants to do the cleaning and other works. It was the pupils, the shishyas, who did all the ashram tasks. Where the Gurukula parampara or the custom was to beg alms for food and to go to the jungle, cut woods and bring them to the ashram for cooking, even the prince had to do all these tasks. This can be seen in Ramayana, where Guru Vashishta, in whose Gurukula ashram, King Dasharatha's sons, that is Sri Ram and his three other brothers, got their education. They were all sent for begging for food and cutting the woods from the jungle. This shows the sanskara, the customary discipline of the ashram, which had to be followed by all pupils, and it was the custom that they had to abide by it. It had to be abided by every shishya, the pupil, irrespective of whether he was a prince or a servant's son. Further, Vashishta Muni, who also knew that Sri Ram was an avatar of Bhagwan Vishnu, yet he made him do all these works, manual tasks, because being born as a human And having entered the ashram, the rule of the ashram was uniform for all without any special privilege to anyone on basis of caste or social economic status, or him or her being an avatar of God or what as a human being in the ashram rules. So this substantiates the fact that Gurukulas did not discriminate any pupil on basis of status, caste, or their or them being an avatar, as we saw in Ramayana. Okay. So this rules out the second myth. Now the third myth. Dronacharya refused to teach Karna about the various skills of archery and warfare because of his caste. This is the third myth being spread. Is it true? Our reply is no. It is not true. How? Let us see. The facts are that Karna learned from two gurus, Guru Dronacharya and Guru Parshram. Although Dronacharya taught the various skills involved in Dhanurveda, he did not teach Brahmastra technique to Karna, but taught it to Arjuna. Now, different explanations come out on this, that Dronacharya wanted to uplift Arjuna, and that's why all those things. But let us see another prerequisite of who has to be taught what. So Dronacharya not having taught the Brahmastra technique to Karna was not because of his caste, but because of his, what we say it as swabhava, the nature or temperament or attitude. Now it can be observed in the Mahabharata that while Arjuna focused on his learnings, Karna had a complex with Arjuna and always tried to outwit him. It was with the aim to defeat Arjuna that Karna wanted to learn the use of Brahmastra. Here, the Guru obviously has the discretion of whom to teach, that is the one who would use the Brahmastra for the general good of mankind, and whom not to teach, that is to the one who wants to use it, that Brahmastra to attack an individual. That is something like Karna wanted to learn the Brahmastra just to defeat Arjuna. So his aim was not for a general good, but against an individual, to attack an individual or to defeat an individual. Henceforth, Dronacharya was not concerned about the caste of Karna, but took into consideration the temperament of a student. So here again, Karna's caste is not the reason for him being denied the Brahmastra application. So myth number 3 is ruled out. Now coming to the fourth myth. Gurukulas taught only to pupil from upper caste. We had already seen, but let us see it more in a different angle too. Was it true? Where only the upper caste students were inducted into the Gurukulas is the question. So our reply is no. This is entirely a false allegation, because in ancient Bharat there was no difference among castes based on birth. There was, that is what we call as the jati. There was no concept of upper jati or caste or lower jati or caste. There was Varna system. Varna is not based on caste, but on the attitude and occupation or the work, the karma, how the person carries out his thoughts mattered. That means any person of any caste can belong to any of the 4 Varnas. That is, person of any caste could learn in the Gurukula if they had the required aptitude to learn. Now, education was free, and hence money too was not the constraint to learn in many of the Gurukulas, most of the Gurukulas. So Guru Dakshina may be given after completion of the ashram studies, and it could be anything to the affordability of the students' economic capacity. Guru Dakshina was not a compulsion to pay any obligation of consideration realized by the pupil towards the teaching efforts of the Guru. Now, the son of a king and that of an ordinary person all stayed in the Gurukula without any difference. Together they did all the domestic and outdoor works of the ashram. The learning prospect of the person was basically seen as the admission criteria in addition to the logical, ethical and practical factors, or rather the cognitive capacity of the student who want to come as a student. Basically, if you see, palmistry and astrology played the vital role in determining whether the applicant has been bestowed by nature the tendency to learn or not. So, the Guru generally would see if the Vidya Rekha, the line of education, was there in the palm of the person who wants to learn. Now, here is a story of Panini. Panini was the son of a scholar. Legendary tales and literature say that when he was a child, a learned scholar saw the palm of Panini, and Panini's father was a great scholar. But this friend of his father, another learned scholar, he saw the palm of Panini and said that he did not have the Vidya Rekha. So, Panini, whose father, who came from a background of a learned scholar, whose father was a learned scholar, this Panini was denied entry into the Gurukula just because he did not have the Vidya Rekha. But see the interest in the child, this should be the point of motivation. The penance that Panini took as a young boy, he took a sharp object and made a deep cut line on his palm at the place where the Vidya Rekha is supposed to be. So, this attitude of the child showed the immense inquisitiveness and urge to learn. This natural affinity towards education could not prevent the Gurus from teaching this little aspirant. Panini did not stop with his entry into the Guru's ashram. He did severe penance by meditating to Bhagwan Shiv and got his blessings. Panini went ahead with his dedicated learning pursuits and advanced to the extent that his Ashtadhyayi is addressed by theologians and experts as fundamental to the structure and linguistic expression of Bharatiya way of thinking beyond the didactic grammar aspect. In such rare cases where beyond the palmistry and astrological predictions, where the determination and sincere efforts of a student to learn were very strong, no force of nature could prevent an aspirant from learning. So, Panini was blessed by Bhagwan Shiv and he became the greatest Sanskrit scholar, grammarian and philologist. Panini is known as the father of Sanskrit. So, such sincere positive attitudes and interest to learn are yet other eligible criteria for a Guru to accept a person as his Shishya or pupil based on the numerical limits of intake and other ashram criteria. Therefore, here also we rule out the myth number 4 and strongly say that ancient Gurukulas never rejected students based on caste and also did not show preference to any selected caste. Persons of any caste could learn in the Gurukulas and upgrade themselves. One or two individual cases cannot be brought as a substitute for the general Gurukula tradition. Well, now myth number 4 is ruled out. Now coming to the myth number 5. The fifth myth says that it was the British colonizers who gave the opportunity of education to female in India. Gurukulas in Bharatiya society discriminated women education. Is it true? Our reply is no. Female were not disallowed in the Gurukulas. So let us see what it is. If women received education only after the British came to Bharat in 1600, then in which Macaulay's education system of school did Andal study, Karaikal Ammayar study? The Avvayars who lived in the Sangam age learned writing, reading, writing, and they wrote numerous literatures, wrote poetries containing high degree proficient use of language, grammar, poetic meter, and devotion. This is our first question. Second, the British came to Bharat in 1600 only after the Charter Act of 1813, when the English education system was gradually increased or introduced, we would say. In 1720s, there was no Macaulay's or British School of Education in India. Then, our question is, from which Macaulay's school or English education did Rani Ahalya Bai Holkar learn the martial arts and administration? Okay, now the next question, or rather the next point. In ancient Bharat, girls were given the freedom to learn. That was our ancient Vedic culture. Girls were given equal education as that of boys. After a certain age, the girls were given the discretion to decide whether they wanted to continue or discontinue their education. Ancient Gurukulas have given a number of well-educated female Vidwans, that is the philosophers, like Lopamudra, Ghosha, Gargi, Apala, Shikta, Urvashi, Vishwavara, Saswati, Leelavati, Sulabha, Maitreyi. From which Macaulay's education did they learn? And when Gargi sat for the debate with Yagnavakya, the amount, the resource of knowledge she had to carry out the debate and excel in the debate, which English education taught Gargi the philosophies of our dharma, is our next question. Right. Now, going further in understanding about the Vedic environment, the Gurukulas which encouraged female education, there were separate ashrams for females. Rishikas and Sadhvis existed in the ancient Bharat. Brahmavadini is a female who was keen to learn Vedas. Even today, any female who is keen to learn Veda is called a Brahmavadini. Now, during the period of her Vedic learning, she undergoes all the certain rituals that she ought to follow, and she undergoes the learning. A Brahmavadini can learn in her own house, where the Guru may be her father also, and after completion of her Vedic studies, the female who led the life of a Brahmacharini could undergo the Samavartana rites, which in modern days we call as the graduation ceremony. Therefore, she may, after this, she may, if she likes, she may get married and enter into the Grihastha ashram, or she can continue her Brahmacharini pursuit also. So later, with the incoming of the invaders towards the later Vedic period, towards the later half of the later Vedic period, there had been several threats to female by these strangers. Thereby, there was an eventual transformation in the social setup, whereby safety of female was prioritized over other aspects. Owing to social changes during later part of the later Vedic period, through the medieval period, from Brahmavadini to Grihasthini's phase, the female became direct Sadyavadhus, that is, who were given in marriage without undergoing Vedic education. That means earlier female underwent the Vedic education. After having their preliminary Vedic education, then they could enter into the Grihasthane married life. But due to the threats, several external threats, the Vedic education learning in the common places like Gurukulas were barred, or rather they were disrupted, and so the Sadyavadhu concept came, that the girls were given in marriage even without Vedic education, which deteriorated the count of female education. Now, so you cannot accuse Bharatiya society of not educating the female, but certain circumstances brought certain restrictions somewhere at some period of time. Now, the female goddess Saraswati is embodiment of education and knowledge. Then how could the soil of Bharat ignore education to a female, should be our next question. Therefore, women of ancient Bharat received Vedic education and other skills of their choice and aptitude in par with the male members of the society. Bharat has a number of highly intellectual and valorous females since ancient times. So, it is absolutely a wrong statement to state that before Macaulay's education, the Indian female, Bharatiya female were not educated, they were not given the opportunity to learn, but it was only after the introduction of the Macaulay's education system that Bharatiya women were given the opportunity to learn. This statement is absolutely false, or we can say it is not, it is to a larger extent not true, because at that period of time when the Macaulay's education was introduced, that is that few hundred years towards that time, maybe the female restrictions were a little or based on the social safety aspect, not because of Sanatana Dharma or the rituals in the Indian soil that females should not learn. That was not the criteria. So, let us be clear about this myth. Now, having understood these 5 myths, now let us see something about the forceful closure of Gurukulas by the British colonial laws. In 1792, Charles Grant, in his essay, Observations of the State of Society among the Asiatic Subjects of Great Britain, in this article, he expressed the need to enhance the missionary activities to establish English education in Bharat. This was later in 1830 with the help of William Wilberforce, who brought in the missionaries and clubbed in the missionary activities with the education. In between 1800 and 1820, gradually the financial aids, the financial help to run the Gurukulas were reduced step by step and became conditional. That is, they posed certain conditions if they had to receive the fund from the British administrators. So, this forced the close down of several numerous Gurukulas, thousands and lakhs of Gurukulas. Later, on the recommendation of Thomas Babington Macaulay, William Bentinck issued the orders on introduction of English education in colonial Bharat. Since then, most Gurukulas saw its deplorable, forceful close down by the British colonizers, and now it remains in just books and as a point of discussion with the false narratives like Gurukulas taught only to students of upper caste, or that female were not allowed to learn, etc., given by the Britishers when they colonized Bharat. So, therefore, knowledge is the base of civilization. It is the most heartbreaking, unethical, and sadistic attitude of the British colonizers to destroy this Bharatiya age-old tradition of knowledge seeking, research and dissemination and learning at the Gurukulas. Vedic form of education has been an excellent form of self-discipline, culture, humanity, ethics, values, moral responsibilities, devotion, ethics of application and dharma, inclusive of the gaining of expertise in the various range of subject knowledge. Is Gurukula completely erased off from Bharatiya society? No. It has only been shadowed or eclipsed. The eclipse will move away. Many houses are serving as Gurukulas, independent units, but we need to make them come out. Revival of the Gurukula system of education would be the boon to the future generations of Bharat and a tribute to all our gurus and vidwans across ages in this Vedic bhumi of wisdom. May we revive the Gurukulas and give our reverence to our gurus.